and wonderful holidays. It's really busy with us, with the 2 girls and the crazy weather that we've all been having. I hope everyone on the East Coast is doing well with this crazy storm. We just got dumped, I'd say a good 18 inches or so with this storm up here in Canada. And I wanted to let you guys know that the Modern Trader Summit registration page is open. I'm very, very excited about it. Registration opened the 29th and is in Earlybird special of $99 for a seat for June 23rd in Orlando at the Bonnet Creek Hilton. And I'm very excited. We have 7 speakers lined up, myself and some others as well. I'm going to be putting all the speakers' photos and bios up on the webpage, Modern Trader Summit, this week. And if you guys follow me on my blog as well, See Jane Trade, you'll see that this year was a very big year. Obviously, I had my 2nd daughter, wrote the book, actually got it published, and did another talk with Trade Ideas out in California, and decided that I was going to set up this summit of traders to help other traders, basically. So we've got a number of people that are coming. Some are from my book, some are not from my book. We have another trader that started with Timothy Sykes' Millionaire Trading Plan, a similar time that I did, and has been very, very successful. One of my buddies, Billy. And we also have Stephanie Cameron, we have Latoya, we have Anka, we have many others. So check out the webpage if you haven't already. There's also an affiliate link if you'd like to advertise it. You would be getting a kickback for advertising it if anybody buys through your link, and the more the merrier always. You know, this is all about having the ability to have traders that are positive influences in the trading community to help you learn. And we're going to be covering all different arenas of trading stocks, options, cryptos, futures, a little bit of everything. Stephanie Cameron, that you've heard me talk about before, talks about dark pool prints. We also have Sarah Potter, who's great about trading options. So definitely check it out. There's a lot to learn. And the first summit that I went to with Timothy Sykes, it was amazing how inspiring it is, and you just feel so energized because you're there with people that all have the same interests that you have. You know, everybody there is interested in learning about stocks. Not everybody in this world is. And it's great to be in that forum where you can talk to people. Everyone is excited to hear what you have to say. And it's a great avenue where you can hear people's perspective that have made it and they're able to succeed in the trading world and share and give back to you guys. So check it out. And this year, I also said in my blog, a couple of goals that I have, obviously, is to go ahead and execute the summit without a hitch. Also, to go ahead and hit that 1 million mark, if that's in the cards for me. You know, obviously, I want to make that goal happen this year. However, I'm going to take it one trade at a time. As I always say, carpe profit, right? Go ahead and keep the days green, grow the account. That's what really matters. And if it happens this year, great. If not, okay, no problem. And my watch list has definitely been performing like crazy. I've had a lot of people that have been responding and loving it. They're learning from it. For newer traders and other traders alike, have the watch list in their inbox before the market opens, and they're able to go ahead and have a little bit of legwork done and have 10 stocks to watch for that day. And really the price targets that if it's broken, momentum will probably continue it on that level. In fact, we had Watt last week that had, you know, the end of the year that had a great upside to it, caught that, and then on the downside as well as I had Roku as a short, I had STZ as a short, I had CNIT for a long this week. So a lot of them have really been performing, and it's really easy money to go ahead and execute it. Even if you were to put a buy order in right for the resistance to be broken, you just have a stop limit buy order and it goes ahead and it executes. Just watch it, you know. There's some amazing, amazing growths. As always, my watch list, when I do a long position recommendation, it is basically a lower float stock that has a higher short float volume the day before. It looks like that's going to be the catalyst that's going to go ahead and continue to swing it in that upward movement for the next day if the resistance is broken. And for the shorts, I do look for a larger float in general, a larger float stock that is going in downward momentum, because it takes, you know, you think about it, you have a freight train full of volume with a large float stock, it's really hard to stop it and make it reverse unless you have that same sort of volume coming back up. So those are my thoughts and perspectives. As always with my watch list going forward, I'm not a financial professional. I do not have licenses to make recommendations. These are just my personal opinion. So please do your own due diligence and check it out before you jump into any trades. So going forward for this week for the long positions, I would say VUZI. It has a float of 16.59 million, support of 8 and resistance of 8.86 on Friday. It did have 53.27% short volume and a volume overall of 3.4 million. Next on the list is it was a lower volume stock traded on Friday, TIS. It does have a float of 9.3 million, support of 13.68 and resistance of 14. It did have 67% short volume on Friday of 73,000 shares traded. Now this one is one that it looks like if it breaks 1484, looking at the 5-year chart, it could go ahead on up to 1665 and then almost 19 up to 21. So definitely keep it on watch because it is lower float. We also have, and next on the list, we do have Overstock. And if you're looking at it, it's, oh my goodness. You see that it looks like the Bitcoin chart. I mean, it has just gone parabolic. And really what has happened, like with many other stocks, is that Overstock came out with a press release saying, hey, we are going to start taking cryptocurrency payments for our items online. So what happened? Well, it's a lower float stock. In fact, it's 10.91 million in the float. And on Friday, it had 56.83% short float volume of 10.96 million shares at traded hands. So what's happened with Overstock, which has also been happening with Roku as well, which you'll see later, the Overstock has had an upward parabolic move and then it pulls back a little bit. It tends to track the shorts. The shorts get in thinking, yes, it's going to come back down. It's been parabolic. This is going to continue and it's going to drop. Just the opposite. People are jumping on board. Ooh, look, this has Bitcoin in the press release. Everybody's getting on it. I want to get into Overstock too. You have more new buyers, which are then squeezing the shorts, and it's just a continuation and a cycle. So what happened again on Friday? We had shorts getting squeezed, and up again, it hit new highs. We have a resistance of 86.55 and a support of 83.79. So you can see that's why many times when you do have that catalyst of a higher short float volume traded the day before, and then you have more volume of new buyers stepping in, it will create a squeeze and continue to drive the momentum up for the lower float stocks. Next on the list, we have ZX, which is a Chinese auto company. Now this one does have 56 million shares overall. It doesn't have, I searched and I searched to see if I could find the public float. I couldn't find how many shares were held by insiders. So for now, we know it's less than 56 million are the total number that are shared public float, and support is 144 and resistance of 183. It did have 49% short float volume on Friday and a volume of 1.48 million. If it does break 183, I think it'll go up to 232. That's the next resistance, and then continue on up from there. Our final one for the long, we do have PULM with float of 10.39 million. It has a support of 1.63 and a resistance of 1.80. On Friday, it did have 59% short float volume of 801,000 shares. If it does break 2, I think it'll continue on up to 240 and then 270. And as you see earlier last year, you'll have it had a multi-day run up, and so there is that potential if the momentum continues to squeeze the shorts and go ahead and push it up for a multi-day run and continue on up into potentially $4 or $5. Onto our short list, we do have STZ, which did drop down off of the highs for the year, and it did find a support of 218, and it looks like resistance of 220.50. This does have more to the downside potentially. It is a larger float stock, and so once you have that freight train moving in the downward momentum with a higher float stock, it's really hard to go ahead and break that trend unless you have the massive volume buying it back up. So when people have stops that are long-term holdings, and it hits that, you'll see that drop immediately right at open. You have, larger institutional investors, if it drops more than 20%, you tend to see a massive sell-off because the the mutual funds say, hey, typically if it's dropping more than 20%, we don't want to hold this. So you see it drop quickly because you see a lot of shares that are being unloaded, and it does drop quickly. Next on the list, we have Core with a support of $23.95 and a resistance of $25.58. We have next RGNX with a support of $27.15 and a resistance of $28.50. PSMT, PriceSmart, with a support of $80.90 and a resistance of $82.25. That does look like it could go down to 79 as a support level potentially, and then after that you would be breaking into 5-year support levels. Final one is Roku. Now Roku, much like Overstock, had that trapping of shorts where people thought, this is going parabolic. It had its earnings release, and all of a sudden it went from, I believe it was $16 up into 40, 50, 60s. And it kept getting, I think it was Kramer that said, hey, this is way overvalued, this needs to come down. Well, you know what happened? Some people tried to short it, they got caught, they got squeezed, it drove it up more, and the continuation of cycle. Now, finally, this past week, it did have 2 downgrades, one on Thursday and one on Friday, and it does look like the momentum is in the downward movement. As you can see, much like STZ, it did have a gap down, and it does look like the momentum is continuing to that downward side for the moment. Just be careful with Roku if you do tend to go short, because that does have a lower float. And if you do have a low float stock and say 50% is short, you always have the potential to have more buyers on a low float stock than you do shorters, because the float is limited. So you could have 80% short, but you could have 120% new buyers coming in and buying all those shares, driving the price up. So definitely be cautious on lower float stocks if you are shorting them, as it's easy to get squeezed to the upside. As always, if you haven't checked out my book, FMJ, Trust, Transition, and Trade, it is available on Amazon. I've had lots of great reviews from people, and people are just absolutely loving it. So let me know if you'd like to check it out. Go ahead, buy it. I will ship them out myself to you. And it's also available on Kindle. And as always, this upcoming year, my goal is to go ahead and share even